crypto and blockchain are key to focus on because they speak to young people's aspiration. Young people want to have a wealth generation. They want to be part of the modern economy. They want to have more say over their lives. They don't want big institutions dictating it. They want to have more ownership.
It's Tuesday, July 30th, and this is Markets Daily, hosted by me, Jen Sanasi. On this show, we navigate the currents shaping the crypto markets, providing insights against the broader financial landscape. So, whether you're actively trading or just interested in the volatility of the crypto markets, this show should be your compass to understanding what's happening, where we are, and where we're going. Good morning, everyone. Now, if you are a regular listener of this show, you know that we've been talking about the elections a lot. We've been diving deep into the implications of the upcoming US elections on crypto adoption and innovation on this show. As our guest Anthony Pompliano highlighted yesterday, while crypto and the election might seem like a very US centric topic, the reality is that governments worldwide are probably paying close attention to the debates and the developments. They're observing the industry's discourse and how adopters are reacting, and they will likely be closely watching how the new president addresses crypto legislation. The topic's importance extends beyond the United States. Now, we know that the Republicans have adopted a pro crypto stance ahead of the upcoming election, and we've yet to hear from the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, on her crypto policy. While I've heard many in the industry say that the last 4 years have been dismal for crypto, Pomp said on the show yesterday that it hasn't been that bad. Under the current administration, Coinbase went public, and we got a spot Bitcoin ETF and a spot Ether ETF in the United States. Now, while he made a good point here, we can't ignore the fact that Coinbase is being sued by the SEC, and the SEC was somewhat forced into approving that Bitcoin ETF after a federal appeals court ruled that the agency was wrong to reject an application from Grayscale to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF. Now, can the Democrats rebrand as a crypto forward party and gain votes from single issue voters who are leaning towards the self proclaimed crypto candidate, former President Donald Trump? Well, Congressman Ro Khanna thinks that they can. Khanna represents California's 17th congressional district, which covers much of Silicon Valley. He says he gets innovation because that's what Silicon Valley is built on. He's known for organizing roundtable discussions with industry figureheads like Mark Cuban and Brad Garlinghouse, and he says that he's committed to paving a better way forward. I caught up with the congressman recently to hear more about the change that he wants to see.
Well, I'm for the crypto industry and Bitcoin. I believe it's a technology that's going to allow for payments to clear in a faster way, in a cheaper way, and it provides an alternative to Zelle, which is controlled by the banks. I also believe that with DAOs, it gives individuals the opportunity to have a say in financial decisions because they can vote where the money should go. And I think with tokens, you can democratize ownership in companies. You can have self-executing contracts. So I think there are many benefits to decentralizing opportunity that Bitcoin and crypto provide.
Khanna, like many politicians, attended the Bitcoin conference in Nashville last weekend. He said that it was an opportunity to show his advocacy for the industry. And while he's an advocate, he told me he's not quite sure what Vice President Harris's stance is on crypto.
Well, I'm going to be an advocate that she should depart from some of the administration's policies on it. And I held a roundtable with Anita Dunn, with 30 crypto and blockchain leaders. And my view is, it would be great if the vice president does what I did, get a wallet, go on one of the platforms, own some Bitcoin, own some crypto, just to become familiar with the technology, and then support Fit 21 and work to pass it in the Senate. Have SAB 121 overruled. I think it was disappointing that President Biden vetoed that. Vice President Harris could say, as president, she wouldn't have vetoed that. I think this is an opportunity for her to break from the president's policies on Bitcoin and blockchain, and I'm going to encourage her to do that.
Do you know anything about her stance on crypto, though?
I personally don't. I have not discussed the matter with her, and that's why I don't want to represent something without having talked to her about it. But I will be an advocate for a change in the Democratic policy on this.
Now, according to a letter sent on Saturday, more than a dozen Democrats in the House of Representatives and a long list of candidates for congressional seats are pushing their national committee to adopt a pro crypto stance. Khanna, Wiley Nickley, Richie Torres, and others signed the letter requesting a forward looking approach to digital assets, asking their party to add supportive language to the official platform and pick a vice presidential candidate who favors crypto. They also asked to replace SEC Commission Chair Gary Gensler with a chief who supports crypto. Khanna spends much of his time talking to industry stakeholders, and most recently, he held a roundtable with Anthony Scaramucci, who recently joined CoinDesk's Spotlight series. He was positive about the caliber of discussion that was had about the future of crypto. Khanna told me that it's clear some key policies still need to be developed.
Well, we need to come out with some key policies. I think having the vice president go on one of the platforms, whether it's Coinbase or something else, get a wallet, show that she's understands some of the new technology would be great. I think we need to talk as a party about wealth generation in communities that have been left out. I'm doing a summit with 50 historically black colleges and universities with OpenAI, Coinbase, Apple, Google, Microsoft about bringing new technology jobs and investment in those communities. And then I think we need to make sure that we are saying we are for this industry staying in the United States. We're for banks being able to hold these assets. We shouldn't have discrimination against people who are in this space having bank accounts, and that we need a smart regulatory process, but we don't need a regulatory agencies, whether it's the OCC or others, that are trying to cripple or kill the industry.
From my conversation, it seems like he gets it, and he wants the United States to be friendlier to the innovators that are driving the industry forward. But how do we move forward after 4 years of struggle for the industry?
I think we have to get the right personnel in. That's why I wish the administration had agreed to the roundtable I did 2 years ago, because we could have gotten the course adjustment, but we finally had it. I think people are waking up to what I've been saying for years, that we need to embrace Bitcoin. We need to understand the value of crypto and blockchain. We need smart regulation, but we don't want to be the party that's anti this technology. It'd be like saying we're the anti AI party or the anti new semiconductor party. I mean, how can you be against a party? How can you be against how can you be against a technology? I mean, it makes no sense. Well, I want to say that I represent the next generation of thinking on the Democratic Party, and that we need this to be a bipartisan issue. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. Why would we want the Bitcoin industry to go offshore? Why would we want the crypto industry to go offshore? And that there are those of us who, with Fit21, voted for it. There are those of us who are supportive of this industry and smart regulation. There are those of us who want to see stable coins and who want to see regulation sensible on that, and that to give the next generation of Democrats a chance, and that you should have supporters in both parties so that does not become a partisan issue.
The last 4 years under the Democrats have seen crypto companies leave the US for shores with more regulatory clarity. Many of the lawyers I've spoken to here in the US have even said that they advise their crypto company clients to look at jurisdictions like Hong Kong and Dubai instead of trying to tread murky waters here in the United States. Khanna told me that he wants crypto companies to remain in the States. So, what does that look like?
It means regulatory certainty. Right now, there's no regulatory certainty. It means having agencies then that are consistent with that regulatory certainty, and not agencies that are trying to make law through lawsuits. It means having a president of the United States and members of Congress say, we want the Bitcoin companies here. We're proud of having innovation here. We're proud of having cryptocurrencies here. We want these jobs here. We want this wealth generation here. Look, the places you talked about, they're hungry for innovation. They're hungry for tech. I've got $14 trillion of market value in my district in terms of Apple, Google, NVIDIA, Tesla. And so sometimes that may lead to a complacency, but we can't be complacent about the next generation.
Now, I had to ask this next question because so many people have said that crypto is the most politicized issue ahead of the next election. And I'm sorry if you're in that boat because I just don't agree. I think there are many other issues in this country that at this time affect a broader spectrum of people, and those issues have been severely politicized. I asked Khanna if there is really that much attention on crypto in Washington.
Well, as I'm speaking here, we have Netanyahu speaking in the Congress, and
Mhm.
what you may hear in the background is some of the protests. And so, obviously, it's a very polarized time. But I think that crypto and blockchain are key to focus on because they speak to young people's aspiration. Young people want to have a wealth generation. They want to be part of the modern economy. They want to have more say over their lives. They don't want big institutions dictating it. They want to have more ownership. And so when you say that you're a politician that supports Bitcoin, when you say that you understand crypto, then you are helping make that point for young people that you get it. You get that they want ownership. You get that they want to say. You get that they want to be part of the modern economy. And when you're not for that, you kind of seem out of touch and you don't really understand why this is so important for so many young people.
You mentioned it being a polarizing time in the country. I couldn't agree with you more. Talk to me a little bit about being a congressman during this time. A lot of polarizing issues. It feels like the country is becoming more and more divided. I'd just love to hear a little bit more from your perspective about just the state of things, if we even look outside of crypto.
Well, Jen, that's a very thoughtful question. I think we're divided for two reasons. One, because of the enormous wealth generation gap. There's so many people in my district, the world is their oyster. They're going to start new companies, they're going to build new wealth. There's so many parts of this country that have been deindustrialized, that have lost jobs, that have lost economic prospects. And we need to revitalize them. We need to provide new economic opportunity. We need to bring new technology jobs there. And then the second thing is we need to start not yelling at each other, not is sensationalizing things, but talking to each other like we're doing here on this podcast, listening to each other, engaging in forums where we may be uncomfortable. Look, I'm the only prominent Democrat going to that Bitcoin conference, from what I can tell. You've got Donald Trump, you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, you've got all these Republican senators and House members, but I'm not afraid to go into forums where I may not be fully embraced and to have a conversation and to have that conversation with respect. That's what we need to do.
What I took away from my conversation with Khanna is that he is really urging both parties to come together and to tackle some of the issues that have been highlighted over the past 4 years. For him, it's not about throwing blame, but it's about creating an environment where his constituents can continue to push boundaries and solve problems without the fear of getting sued or going to jail. For Khanna, he cares because his constituents care.
I care because there's so many entrepreneurs who care, so many startups who care. They're creating jobs and they're building wealth. And you know what they're doing? They're putting that wealth also into other important initiatives. Mark Cuban's putting that wealth into helping create a new pharma company, a pharma benefit manager that could help lower prescription drug prices. So we don't want to see wealth and investment leave America. We don't want to see entrepreneurial communities leave America. We don't want to see entrepreneurs say, no, I'm just going to go somewhere else to make money. And we need sensible consumer protection. Obviously, no one is saying deregulate. They're saying have sensible regulations that have the CFTC regulate things, have the SEC regulate things, have clarity, have people know the rules so that they aren't always fearing whether they're going to get sued. Have there be processes for trading of these assets, like the ETF that was approved, that you could have cryptocurrencies trading in an ETF. Have more clear rules of how you can have exchanges, how you can have banks hold these assets, and that's all people are asking for now. Folks who say, well, it doesn't have value. I mean, we could say we don't have government speculating about does every single financial instrument have value. I mean, that's the free market. And my view is that there is value on speeding up and cheapening it and making it cheaper to have transactions. But at the very least, it's just diversifying your holdings. I mean, do baseball cards have value? Do gold have value? I mean, so if people want to hold certain value asset in a different asset class, they should be allowed to.
One of the stories we've highlighted this week on Markets Daily is Senator Lummis's proposal for 1 million Bitcoin reserve. When I spoke to the congressman, she had not yet announced it, but there were rumors. He said he's open to it because it would be like holding gold.
I'm open to it. I need to look more about making sure that it is financially sound. But if it is, I'm open to at least exploring the idea.
You think that's a possibility in the near future to have the Federal Reserve hold Bitcoin? as a strategic reserve asset?
I mean, it's such a small percent, and it would be like holding gold. And so I think fine if you want to diversify the supply of the reserves, that makes sense. I mean, I do think Bitcoin is a stable value that's going to have as much stability as gold does.
My discussion with Congressman Khanna was similar to the discussions that I've had with people right here on this show. He says he cares about this industry and he doesn't want to see talent and innovation leave the United States because policymakers can't agree on a way forward. Now, I only spoke to him for about 20 minutes. He was on the move when we spoke, but if we look at his actions and words, he's a strong advocate for crypto. He's calling for balanced regulation that protects consumers. He recognizes the shortcomings of the current policy and is urging both parties to support this industry as it continues to grow. He says that it has to be a bipartisan effort. That said, we also speak with Republican representatives at CoinDesk here all the time who share a vision for a brighter future for crypto. It's clear that across the political spectrum, there's a shared interest in the potential of this technology. However, it all comes down to having the right personnel in the right roles. People who understand the nuances of the industry and are committed to creating a regulatory environment that fosters innovation while still protecting customers. We will continue to explore these conversations and election promises right here on this show. So if you don't already, please subscribe to the CoinDesk Podcast Network. That's available on all podcast platforms. You can also subscribe to our YouTube to get this show. Leave us a great review. Let us know in the comments how we're doing. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.